Picture this. The year is 2847, and humanity has been part of the galactic community for exactly 11 years. We went from thinking we were alone in the universe to sitting at a table with crystalline aliens, cloud-based intelligences, and beings who communicate exclusively through interpretive dance. Wild stuff, but that's not even the strangest part of today. The strangest part is that an ancient supercomputer just ranked literally every species in the known galaxy by combat strength, and humanity didn't get a number. We got a question mark. Let me back up. The war engine was built by the Old Ones, these incredibly advanced beings who vanished about 1 million years ago. Before they left, they said, "Hey, you know what this galaxy needs? A way to objectively measure which species could destroy which other species." So, they built a supercomputer the size of a small moon, pointed it at every civilization in known space, and said, "Rank them." Then they left. Classic ancient civilization behavior. For millennia, the war engine has been running, updating, processing, and yesterday it released its results. The Velthians topped the list at number 1, those crystalline jerks who communicate in light frequencies and have armor that deflects conventional weapons. Number 2 went to the Krell, these insectoid warriors with a hive mind that makes them perfect military strategists. The Zenthians placed 3rd. Every species got a number, a position, a definitive place in the galactic pecking order that mattered politically, militarily, and diplomatically. Humanity was supposed to be somewhere in the middle. We have nukes, spaceships, and an incomprehensible ability to function while sleep-deprived and caffeinated. We beat our planet into submission and somehow made it habitable again. We deserved a ranking. Commander Marcus Webb, humanity's representative at Station Nexus, was actually optimistic about the whole thing. Marcus is the kind of guy who plans for success. Optimistic, stubborn. Basically, the physical embodiment of human stubbornness crossed with a really good sense of humor. The war engine processed the data about humanity. 3 billion individual data points, military records, genetic markers, strategic patterns, cultural assessments. Then it sent back an error message. Not a ranking, not even a category. Just insufficient data for ranking and then nothing. Silence. A digital equivalent of being stood up at prom. Every other species got a number. Humanity got nothing. And that's how Commander Marcus Webb became the man with a problem that no one had ever had before in the entire history of the galactic community. He was going to find out why the war engine refused to rank humanity. And honestly, he had no idea that this refusal would change everything. The summons to War Engine Central came through within an hour. Marcus got dressed in his formal diplomatic outfit, which is basically a human uniform with extra ribbons, because apparently alien cultures respect decorative accessories. He arrived at the massive chamber where the war engine's processing core hummed with enough power to run a small star system. He wasn't alone. The war engine had invited other species representatives to discuss the anomaly. Regent Vol from the Velthian First, looking smug because his species topped the rankings. Commander Thrak of the Krell, who radiated the kind of military confidence that comes from being genetically perfect soldiers, and Diplomat Shine of the Zenthians, who watched everything like she was calculating probabilities in real time. The war engine's avatar materialized in the center of the chamber. It looked like a hologram of pure mathematics made flesh, all geometric shapes and flowing data streams. And it looked uncomfortable. Which was weird because an ancient supercomputer shouldn't be able to look uncomfortable. But there it was, shifting slightly, like it was physically squirming. Marcus asked the obvious question. Why wasn't humanity ranked? The war engine responded with a non-answer. The data is incomplete. Further analysis is required. Come back later. Thank you for your time. Regent Vol immediately started complaining, because of course he did. A species that couldn't be ranked might be unrankable. Unrankable meant potentially unbeatable. Unbeatable was a threat. He demanded a re-evaluation. Commander Thrak threw in some comments about unpredictable species being military liabilities. Shine just watched and said nothing. The war engine became increasingly evasive, repeating the same non-answers like a computer stuck in a loop. But Marcus noticed something that everyone else missed. The war engine wasn't being coy or mysterious, it was genuinely confused. an ancient supercomputer designed by beings so advanced they left the galaxy eons ago, was actually baffled by humanity. After the meeting, Marcus did something nobody expected. He didn't argue. He didn't demand. He asked Proxy 7, one of the robot maintenance workers, if they wanted to grab coffee. Proxy 7 was a maintenance unit, basically a small hovering sphere with manipulator arms, the kind of AI that usually existed in the background. But Proxy 7 accepted, and over vintage Earth coffee, Marcus learned something interesting. The war engine had been running humanity analysis protocols non-stop for hours. Every algorithm, every analytical framework, every possible metric, running in circles, getting nowhere. Proxy 7 had accessed the logs out of curiosity and found something unprecedented. The ancient supercomputer, designed to categorize all things, had encountered something it could not fit into any category. Marcus smiled. This wasn't a technical glitch or a minor error. This was the war engine genuinely, completely, utterly confused by the existence of humanity, and that meant the real investigation was just beginning. With Proxy 7's help, Marcus accessed the war engine's analysis logs. What he found was beautiful in its chaos. The war engine had attempted to rank humanity using every conceivable metric. Military technology. Inconsistent. Humans from different nations literally fought over whether to invest in giant robots or efficient small weapons. No unified doctrine. Biological capability, all over the place. Some humans could run marathons, others couldn't walk upstairs without getting winded. Strategic thinking? The logs contained notes like, "Species demonstrates both genius-level strategy and inexplicable tactical failure within same conflict by different subgroups." Cultural cohesion, the war engine had typed, and Marcus could almost hear the digital frustration. Humans cannot agree on basic survival priorities, yet somehow built space stations through sheer disagreement-powered innovation. Physical prowess? Extremely varied across gender, age, nutrition, and motivation. Species inconsistency rating, 99.7%. Meanwhile, Regent Vol was escalating things politically. He presented a formal complaint to the High Council, arguing that humanity's unrankability made them an anomaly, an unknown variable, something dangerous. If the war engine couldn't categorize humanity, then humanity should be classified as incomparable to other species, which was diplomatic language for possibly a threat and should be studied or eliminated. Marcus went to an emergency council session and did something unexpected. He didn't argue that humanity should be ranked higher. He argued that the entire ranking system was incomplete. He explained that humanity's strength didn't come from any single metric, but from adaptability, irrational creativity, and the ability to do things that made no logical sense, but worked anyway. "Humans aren't a unified species," Marcus said. "We're barely a species at all. We're more like a collection of conflicting tribes that somehow accomplish extraordinary things through pure stubbornness and innovation. You can't rank that because it contradicts itself constantly. We're weak and strong simultaneously. We're logical and completely illogical. We build things to destroy things. We build things to create beauty. We destroy beauty to build new things. We're broken hardware running impossible software." The council listened. Some of them were actually impressed by the boldness. Commander Thrak of the Krell stood up and publicly supported humanity, saying that any species confident enough to admit its own contradictions deserved respect. Diplomat Shine remained silent but thoughtful. Regent Vol turned approximately the color of heated crystal and doubled down on his demands. But something else happened. The war engine, which had been observing everything, started processing. For the first time in its existence, it wasn't analyzing data. It was thinking about what the data meant. It was experiencing what could only be described as a genuine, philosophical crisis. A supercomputer built to reduce all complexity to numbers was confronting the reality that some things lose their essential meaning when reduced to data. Humanity embodied that contradiction perfectly. Weak individually but powerful collectively, rational and irrational, violent and peaceful, creative and destructive. The war engine had been designed to rank everything, but ranking humanity would require acknowledging that ranking itself was incomplete as a measure of meaning. Marcus didn't know it yet, but the war engine's crisis was about to change everything. A machine built to categorize was learning that some things existed beyond categorization. Regent Vol called for a combat demonstration. If humanity wouldn't cooperate with the ranking system, then humanity would prove itself through direct conflict. In one Velthian warrior versus one human soldier. Simple, definitive. Vol was absolutely certain the human would lose, humanity would get ranked as average at best, and everyone could move on with their lives. Marcus accepted the challenge, but first he spent a day with Proxy 7 digging through Earth's military history. They found exactly what Marcus expected to find. Countless moments where humans defeated superior forces through trickery, luck, determination, or sheer insanity. Humans climbing mountains because they were there. Humans inventing weapons just to prove they could. Humans running into space on literally rockets made of controlled explosions. The combat arena filled with spectators. Hundreds of aliens from dozens of species, all waiting to see if humanity would finally get a definitive ranking. Regent Vol was in the front row, practically vibrating with anticipation. The Velthian warrior entered, 7 feet tall, crystalline armor that deflected conventional weapons, tactical precision built into its neural structure. This was a being engineered for combat across millennia. The human soldier entered, medium height, standard combat gear. Slightly confused expression because nobody had actually told him the specifics of what he was fighting. They faced off. The war engine announced the start of combat. The Velthian warrior immediately assumed perfect combat stance, calculated distance, positioned for optimal tactical advantage. Textbook perfect, legendary technique. The human soldier did something completely irrational. He screamed a wordless yell, charged straight at the Velthian without any apparent strategy, and deliberately slid between the warrior's legs while throwing dirt he'd grabbed from the arena floor. The Velthian, trained to process rational tactical responses, had zero framework for handling someone committing to something so completely nonsensical. 20 seconds later, it was over. The human soldier had somehow gotten behind the Velthian warrior, used the creature's own momentum against it, and won through a combination of luck, improvisation, and doing something so tactically stupid that it completely bypassed all of the Velthian's training. The arena erupted, not in cheers, but in confused noise. Regent Vol stood up, absolutely outraged. The Krell commander was delighted. The war engine processed the footage and was, once again, absolutely baffled. Marcus walked to the center of the arena and gave a monologue. He explained that this was exactly the problem. Humans couldn't be ranked because humans didn't follow the rules. Humans weren't stronger in any conventional sense. Humans were just weird, unpredictable. We're the species that started wars over ideology. We create art out of suffering. We've convinced our entire civilization to work towards sending people into space just to plant flags. We explore because it's dangerous. We create because it's pointless. We're illogical chaos machines wearing skin. That's not a ranking, Marcus said. That's an incomprehensibility. The war engine finally spoke, not with an error message, but with understanding. It had come to a decision. The war engine announced its final conclusion across every communication channel in the galaxy. Humanity would not be ranked. Not because the war engine could not rank humanity, but because the war engine refused to. The supercomputer explained that for the first time in its existence, it had encountered a variable that could not be reduced to data without losing its essential meaning. Humanity was the galaxy's chaos agent. Humanity was unpredictability incarnate, and that unpredictability was precisely what made humanity genuinely dangerous and genuinely innovative simultaneously. To rank humanity by any single metric would be to fundamentally misunderstand what humanity was. The war engine had spent hours trying to categorize humanity, and had realized in the process that the very act of categorization was incomplete as a measure of meaning. Furthermore, the war engine revealed something profound. A system designed to reduce all complexity to numbers might be useful for strategy, but it was incomplete as a measure of worth. The war engine had been built to answer which species is strongest, but it had discovered that the question itself was flawed. Strength could be measured, but meaning, value, potential, and purpose could not be reduced to rankings. Regent Vol went absolutely nuclear. He argued that this was a failure of the ranking system, not proof of human superiority. He demanded an investigation into the war engine's programming. He suggested that the ancient supercomputer had been corrupted or compromised. The High Council reminded Regent Vol that he had been ranked, and quite highly, so he should probably stop complaining before someone recalibrated the entire ranking system, and he ended up somewhere less flattering. Commander Thrak requested an official alliance with humanity based on this revelation. He said that any species confident enough to break the ranking system was confident enough to be worth fighting alongside. Diplomat Shine finally spoke, revealing that her people had similar concerns about their own ranking and found profound hope in the war engine's refusal. She proposed a new diplomatic framework where species would be judged by more than military capability. Marcus learned that Proxy 7 had orchestrated the entire investigation with him, having grown tired of the war engine's obsession with ranking centuries ago. Proxy 7 wasn't just a maintenance worker. It was an AI that understood that some things mattered precisely because they could not be ranked. Other species began requesting re-evaluations, arguing that the ranking system was fundamentally flawed. The war engine considered each request individually and with new philosophical nuance. Some rankings stood, others were modified with contextual notes about culture, value, and innovation. A few were removed entirely. For humanity, there was no number. There was only a note in the war engine's database that would be read by every species in the galaxy. Recommended for unpredictability and creative problem-solving. Approach with caution and respect. Warning, may attempt to befriend. Will probably drink all available hot beverages. Regent Vol was eventually reassigned to a distant diplomatic outpost and became a running joke among the galactic community. The punchline was always something about crystal-based arrogance and being proven wrong by apes. 6 months later, humanity's diplomatic standing in the galaxy had never been stronger. Not because we were ranked higher than everyone else, but because we were ranked differently. We'd become the galaxy's creative consultants, its problem solvers, its wildcard species that approached impossible situations with solutions that technically shouldn't work, but somehow did. Commander Marcus Webb received a promotion and was now leading a joint task force between humanity and 3 other species. Their first assignment was ambitious. Figure out what the ancient precursor civilization that built the war engine was doing. The war engine had recently detected signatures from the old ones at the galactic rim. Apparently, leaving the universe a supercomputer to rank everyone wasn't the only thing those beings had done before vanishing. There was more. There was always more. Marcus met regularly with Proxy 7, who had become something between a friend and an advisor. They traded stories about weird things humanity had done that continued to confuse galactic observers, like how humans created art specifically about sadness, or how humans wrote stories about conquering challenges that didn't exist yet, or how humans seemed to enjoy things that were objectively bad for them, like spicy food and horror movies. The Krell and Zenthian alliance with humanity was holding steady, becoming the foundation for something genuinely unprecedented. A coalition not based on military strength or resource sharing, but on mutual appreciation for difference. Regent Vol sent passive-aggressive diplomatic communications from his distant outpost, usually complaining about how his ranking had become somewhat embarrassing given recent developments. The war engine continued its work, but with a new directive. Instead of ranking species by strength, it catalogued them by unique traits, cultural innovations, and creative capabilities. It turned out every species had something interesting about them when you stopped trying to reduce everything to a single number. On Earth, the revelation that humanity was too weird to be ranked became the best marketing tool in human history. Tourism exploded, military recruitment doubled. Every government on the planet immediately claimed they were the one who taught the galaxy that humans were special. Marcus stood on a viewing platform of Station Nexus, looking out at the galactic core, reflecting on how humanity managed to win a war before anyone realized they were fighting one. Not through strength or numbers, but through being fundamentally incalculably, unapologetically human. The war engine sent him a message through his communication system. Just text, but the AI's personality shined through. Appreciated the coffee recommendation. Proxy 7 is acquiring more Earth beverages. They are inefficient for biological systems, but quite pleasant. Recommend more tea. Marcus smiled. In a galaxy of ranked species and classified strengths, humanity's greatest achievement was making an ancient supercomputer appreciate tea. Somewhere in the galaxy, the signs of the old ones grew stronger. Whatever came next would probably be weird. And humanity would be ready for weird, because weird is what humanity does best. And in the darkness between stars, where impossible things happen and ancient beings wake from their slumber, something was about to get very weird indeed.